Additional aids and services are available to individuals with disabilities. To make such a request, please contact us by email, by clicking the Help tab in the PD portal, or at pdportal@tamu.edu, by phone, including Relay Texas at 1-800-441-7323, or in writing to Train PD, PD Portal Support, 4477 TAMU, College Station, Texas 77843. Both a transcript and accessible document of the content presented in this webinar can be found as resources in the course description. Click on the blue links under Course Resources in the description. When a link is clicked, a new browser window will open.
Amy McBride has been employed by the Literacy Council of Tyler for approximately 8 months. Amy McBride is the Literacy Council of Tyler Learning Differences Coordinator and GED instructor. Amy is a certified teacher in the following areas: special education, early childhood through 12, general education, early childhood through 8, and English as a second language, and she holds a Master's of Arts degree in teaching. Miss McBride fell in love with adult education when she volunteered to teach a music therapy session at an adult daycare center for adults with physical disabilities. Amy is extremely passionate about helping adults learn and succeed using targeted and specialized instructional strategies and tools. So everyone, please welcome Amy at this time.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amy McBride, and I will be doing our Tech and Tell today. I hope we all have fun for the next hour and a half. All right, here we go. All right, so obviously we're here from Math Manipulatives and Exercises with Mathigon, Part 2. So the next question I have is I want you to think about and answer in chat, if you will, the area that you know your students need the most assistance with for growth. I've got you 5 options here: geometry, numbers, fractions, algebra, or probability and data. The reason I have them so succinctly grouped is because that will help us later. See here, we've got a couple people saying fractions. I also have algebra on here. Okay, those are definitely not uncommon, fractions and algebra. Fractions seem to be the part that a lot of my students personally seem to be scared the most about. Okay, geometry, probability, and data. Adults do hate fractions a lot of the times, especially if they're not already comfortable with them. But yes, we can absolutely work on those, no problem. Okay, so that gives me something to go with. If you haven't already answered, you can still answer in chat and just say, hey, my students have problems with thus and such. I'm going to do my best to make sure we cover the things that the most people have said they need help with, which it looks like is fractions and algebra at this time. And you're going to see there's just a ton of tools for us to work with. So we're going to go ahead and keep going. All right, so here's our session objectives. We want you to be able to create a Mathigon teacher account. Not only be able to, but if you're going to use it, you need to for this portion for Polypad. We're also going to review the Mathigon website components in case you weren't here for the first part or you've forgotten. We're going to explore and you're going to understand the Polypad components and tools so that you can play with them. We're also going to be able to save Polypad assignables. Now, this is part of why it is important for you to be able to have that teacher account. You cannot save unless you've got a teacher account. And then last, you're going to be able to assign Polypad items to your students. All of these very essential to using Mathigon efficiently, especially the Polypad. So we're going to review Mathigon's assets. So Mathigon has decided to go ahead and change their main website. So this does not look like it did during my first presentation. If you were there for the first presentation or any of the pictures look slightly different, all they did was they updated their main page. They are still completely free. They are still sharing all the same things that we've already gone over. It's just a different new background. But I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to show you as well on the Mathigon website after we've gone over the brief list. Okay, So first and foremost, here's how to sign up, since this is so essential for what we're doing today. We are going to sign up by clicking the icon. And unfortunately, it does not have that accessibility that we love, but it is the person-shaped icon in the upper right corner. You're going to click Create New Account when the drop-down menu happens. And then it's important for you to choose teachers, not students or parents. Choose teachers, and then you can pick your preference as to how you're going to join. You can do it with Google Classroom, you can do it with Microsoft, or you can do it with the old-fashioned email and password. So let's go to the website and create the account. Here we go. Okay, so here is our Mathigon website. It is mathigon.org. And when you get to the website, you'll see they've got these pretty fractals on the background. They really want to show off their polypad, and I think they have every right to want that. They've got other things to tell you about who they are and what they do. One of the things I will mention real quick on here is they specifically are a United Kingdom property. They're not owned by the United Kingdom, but they're based in the United Kingdom and Wales. So if some of the spelling is a little different than we use in America, that's why. Nothing to panic over. So to make your account, you're going to go to the upper right, as I said before. The only title it has, if you hover over it, is More. It looks like a person. And you can see here we've got the options when we click on it of Sign In, Create New Account, Dark Mode, and change language. So yes, this website is very versatile in that respect. You can change it to any of the languages you see listed here. I do warn, since they are based in the UK, they generally, if they do things like Spanish, they're doing European Spanish. But it can still be quite useful if a student is not fluent in English. Okay, so to create your account, click on Create Account. You'll notice here students is blue. We need teachers to be highlighted. So make sure you go ahead and pick teachers. And as you can see, it's already showing. You can just click Google, you can click Microsoft, or you can tell it you want to do email and password. With Google, it literally will just pop up, okay, here's your account, you're signed in. With Microsoft, it will do similar. The great thing about using, if say you use Google Classroom, they do integrate your Google Classroom directly to your account. So it's very useful if you want to make sure you assign things to everyone in your class that happens to be there, you can do so. I have, like I said, I've done all three of these. They're all not convoluted at all. The hardest one is this one. And as you can see, they just want first, last, email, password, school, and your country. You have to accept their privacy and terms of service. They do not have to send you emails about new features, but I always do because they are always adding to it. It is a fairly new website, so they are continually adding to it. So this is the hardest one. The other two are literally click the button. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Hopefully you've all signed up. Go ahead and stay signed in, and we're going to move on. All right, so next we need to be able to get students to join your class, because if you're going to assign things, that's how it needs to be. So if you joined with Google or you have a Microsoft Classroom, they're already imported. However, there are multiple ways you can have students join your class. We're going to go back to the website and I'm going to show you how they can join. So we've got here, obviously, the create new account. They can pick student. They need to give their date of birth. I did find out you have to be at least 3 to use the website. You do see there is also directly below the date of birth fill in. There's sign up with class code, and I'll show you how to get to that. Or if they already have an account, they can click there and sign into the account that they have. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to go ahead and sign into my personal account. And this is my dummy account. Please do not join into it, as I will not be assigning you any materials and it won't be useful to you as a teacher. Now, this is where I last left off on this teacher account. so don't panic here. Okay, so I went to a different part of the website just so I can show you. I clicked again on the icon in the upper right that is labeled as More, and I'm going to go to my teacher dashboard. You can also get to your teacher dashboard with the small Mathigon icon in the upper left-hand corner. Now, you can have a default class or you can create a new class. I'm creating a new class just because I want to. There we go, my fake class. All right, so here's my fake class. Now, I love that they've added this up top as well. If you'll see in the beautiful rainbow area, there is a white rectangle with rounded corners that says class code, and then it gives a 4-digit code. If you want a student to join your class, literally all they have to do is enter that in the create account page where it says join with class code. Alternately, as a teacher, you can scroll down just a smidge to where it says add students. It once again gives you your classroom code, or you can import them from your Google Classroom. Now, this dummy account does not have a Google Classroom, so we're going to ignore that. But those are your options for making sure your student has joined. Now, if your student is not tech savvy, as this happens, they will literally get a light green banner at the top of the page saying, you have successfully joined so-and-so's class. So if they get the green banner, they're good. If nothing happens, they need to try again. So that is how students join your class, which is essential for them to do your assigned polypaths. Do we have any questions at this time on how to sign up for Mathigon or how to get a student signed up for your class?
Hi, this is Ashley. I have a quick question. I would really like to see this from the student side. Yeah, that's what I was wondering,
Yes.
if I could have that class code so I could join real quick.
Okay, so I actually do have a student dummy account as well. So I'm going to go ahead and sign out. So here we go, signing in with that. Okay, so this student is already in my fake class, but they have a student dashboard as well. And this is what that looks like. It's got all of the recently worked on items, which they recently worked on casino mathematics, and these are what is recommended for them in the courses. Now, they can also go to activities or the polypad. If things are assigned to them, it will show up on their dashboard. To sign up to that, let's see here. We're going to say we're going to create a new account, sign up with class code. They type in their date of birth, they type in their class code. Say it's a student. Here's my class code. And now I can say, do I want to join with Google, Microsoft, or an email and password? The same way we do with teachers. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and continue. So here is the main event we all came for. We're going to see the amazing polypad. This picture on the background, I personally put together with some of the elements available on polypad, not all of them. So even this picture, it's a lot of information, but we're going to go through some of the more interesting bits, at least to me, and according to what y'all told me your students need, and then you're going to get to play with it. So let's go look at the amazing polypad. Okay, so this is polypad. The easiest way to get to polypad is to click on the top banner that says polypad on, again, the website mathigon.org. So as you can see here, we've got a large blank space in the middle, and in the large blank space, that is our work canvas, basically. I'm sure you're all very familiar with whiteboards and chalkboards and all of that. So that is our blank space. We've got a expandable menu on our left with geometry, numbers, fractions, algebra, probability and data, and games and applications. We've got the menu on the right and the menu on the bottom. Now I'm going to show you how to use each of these in a moment, so don't panic that I'm moving away. Before we do that, I do want to also show you the other components. So yes, we clicked on polypad. I'm clicking on courses. with courses, as you can see, there are middle school, and again, this is UK standards, not American necessarily. So look closely at what you're assigning. Here are high school, and these are all geometry. Now, as you can see, not all of these are finished. They are constantly updating this. More are filled in today than there were my first half of Mathigon. It will all get done, but we do not right now have a timeline for that. I did email them about it.
Amy, quick question. Do we know which ones are complete in this list to help the teachers? That way they can save time, not having to go through. So which ones are completely done? I thought maybe that would help everybody so you can kind of know which ones are done and which ones aren't done.
So the lessons that are complete are the ones that have a circle to the left. You'll see they've got a little wrench and hammer next to the ones, as well as when you hover over it says under construction for the ones that are not complete. So obviously quadratic equations, you're not going to want to use their lesson. Whereas divisibility and primes, they've got everything that they believe you'll need. It looks like we do not have fractions in the lessons. I saw someone ask about that. However, there is a lot to play with on fractions as far as activities and polypad. And it seems to me when I've gone through these previously and today as well, that the lower level items are what's going to be filled in more quickly than the higher level items. But again, when I emailed them about this, they did not have a timeline on when they'd be done. So right now they've got 3 main topics in their courses: geometry, numbers and algebra, and probability and applications. With those, you unfortunately cannot assign these. However, you can tell your student, I want you to do probability, the Monty Hall problem, and you can go to your classroom and it will actually show you. So I can go to my dashboard, look at my default class, and I have myself as Amy student here. And you can see Amy student has done all of casino mathematics. However, she did all of it in 1 minute. So that tells me that while she scrolled through and perhaps chose the correct answers on the drop-down menus in the lesson, she did not actually pay a lot of attention, or she's done it multiple times, because as you can see, this says it is the weekly amount of time spent. And you can do that with any of the lessons that they have available. Oh, we haven't done any transformations in symmetry. That is an issue if I told them 2 weeks ago I wanted them to do that. So that is one way to monitor some of your students' independent work. We've also got here activities, that is under the activities label on the top banner. The activities, honestly, you can get lost in. They can be pretty extensive. It goes from everything from a timeline of mathematics, which you can click on and see exact information, including links to other websites and the courses. The timeline it's so easy to just get lost in, honestly. And it goes all the way back from 20,000 BC with the Ashango bone, all the way up to current times. Currently, I believe the max time is, it's 2003. So they haven't, not everything since then has been confirmed, so they haven't added all of it yet. But as you can see, this is an extensive timeline and there's lots that you can go with here. And someone who has no idea what's going on with math can still click on something and learn something. Yeah, it is a great timeline tool, absolutely. Other activities they've got, if you have trouble with factors, Factress is kind of like Tetris mixed with learning your factors. It literally works like Tetris. They can bring the bar down, they can move it left, they can move it right. The cool bit is that they can change the bar according to the factors that go into it. So this one is a bar of, let's see, looks like 10. So it can be 1 by 10, it can be 2 by 5, it can be 5 by 2, or it can be 10 by 1. So that can be an entertaining little time for them. They've also got multiplication for those who need help with that. I really enjoyed mathematical origami, though it does get quite complex. Exploding dots is another really cool one to play with, and Tanagram Builder. Applications, of course, is great. The treasure hunt is a really fun end of course type of game. They've got that separated out into primary and secondary. I would look at the difficulty of it before you choose which one you're going to use. Neither is simple, and none of their activities are childish. So it all works very well with adults if that is who you serve. Okay, last, up in the top banner, we've got lessons. Now, lessons sounds kind of like courses, so it's easy to get confused between them. So I got a request to explain how the treasure hunt works, so I'm going back to that. We've got the activities, and here's the treasure hunt. I'm going to go ahead and click on primary, which for them is middle school level. And it literally comes as a PDF that you can print out all the pieces as needed. You can cut out, etc. It is unfortunately in high contrast color. So if you only use black and white, you will suffer a little there. Okay, so it gives you all of your introduction, everything they're going to have to do, their preparation, the table of contents, copyright notices, if there are any, instructions, and it's got just really cool things that are done in interesting ways for all of the different lessons. Okay, so Lilia's asking about the activities and lessons if they are complete. So yes, anything that is posted in activities or lessons is complete. However, remember, courses aren't all necessarily complete. So that is this is the treasure hunt. It includes all sorts of interesting deals where the kids really have to, or adults have to figure out exactly what's going on. We've got different shapes, different textures and colors. As you can see, they put in a lot of work here. Elbow grease. All right, so literally PDF, you can save it. You know, I haven't looked at that specific one for Spanish, but let's try it out. I see somebody asked about, are these available for Spanish speaking students? You can, in fact, see the website in Spanish. And I want to see if our treasure hunt is available in Spanish. Here we go, primario. It looks like, unfortunately, it is not. That is one of the few things I hadn't checked. That was a fantastic question. Okay, however, I do know for a fact the Polypad, our main event for today, is completely translated into whatever language you choose. The courses are as well. All right, I'm going to switch back to English. There we are. You can see also here we've got dark mode. I don't think I talked about this in the first half. Literally all that does is change the white to dark so that you've got a different contrast. Okay, so Lilia asked, how do I change my language? I specifically changed to Spanish, but you can change to any language. So we again go to that top right icon. It changes whether you're logged in or not. So when you're not logged in, it's a little person. When you are logged in, it's kind of a tanagram shaped like a person. I click on it. The fourth option is change language, and it shows a British flag if you're doing English. And then it shows you the flags of the different countries that you're able to pick between the languages here. So you can change to Spanish, which is Spain Spanish, not American Spanish, but it does roughly translate, of course. You can also change to Dutch if that's your choice, or to Vietnamese. It ultimately, your choice there is your choice. They've got plenty of languages to choose from, so hopefully your student speaks one of them. I'm going to go back to English now. There we are. All right, so let's go to lessons. Again, this is on the top banner. They tried to make this very friendly to navigate. Click on lessons. This is where you can get all sorts of activities, puzzles, lesson plan ideas, tutorials, teaching ideas. On the left side, under our search, we've got 5 different options. We can sort by. We've got student explorations, lesson plans, puzzles and games, teaching ideas, tutorials. I'm going to limit it down just to puzzles and games. And we said we had a lot of students with problems with fractions. So here's 2 different games they can play with fractions. This is a comparing fractions game. And yes, it does go on our polypad. So the great thing here is these are dice. We can roll them. Okay. So I've got okay, 3/1 is greater than 1/2. And with your dice, you can place them so that you can make your own fraction. Now, not everybody wants to do things with dice. That's okay. And you might not want your students to just sit there clicking on dice constantly. That's okay too. You've got choices. So if you don't want a puzzle and game, maybe you want a teaching idea. Maybe you want a tutorial. How to use the polypad with fractions. I've got to say their tutorials are pretty great. Generally, they're fast, especially the older ones are generally silent, so you don't have to worry about language. And they are most often a minute or less. Ashley says it's great for contextualization and making fractions fun and less scary. It definitely is. I love their polypad because it's all about giving you online manipulatives, which, by the way, their online manipulatives, you can download the Mathigon program app on your phone, whether you have an Android or an iPhone, and they'll be able to use it on there as well. So if you have a student that says, hey, I only have a phone, I don't have a computer, no big deal. As long as they use one of those 2 major platforms, they're going to be able to get on here. Now, it might not all be as smooth on a small screen because some of the pieces do get smaller, but they'll be able to get through it. You can also look at fully developed lesson plans they've got set up for you. Infinite sums of fractions is fascinating, by the way. Or student explorations, activities to help the students see what's going on, explore, and not be too scared. And again, everything on this website, they don't dumb it down. They don't make it infantile. I got so sick when I first started teaching adults of finding things with cartoons on them. And that's one of the great things about Mathigon is you don't have to worry about there being silly little cartoons, things making people think, oh, well, I should be in elementary school to learn this. So it's all really friendly. It's color coordinated, which is great for people like myself, and some of my supervisors at work especially love color coordination. They do not calm it down with the color coordination, but it's very user friendly. So whatever you're looking for, you can literally sort, or you can say, I want to see all of your fraction stuff. Well, here you go. Here's all of our fractions. So it's great to explore. And yes, the tutorials can be used by teachers or students. It does not matter. Anyone has access to this, whether they have an account or not. So wonderful. I see Camille asked if Mathigon can be used with Canvas. I am not certain on that. I don't personally have access to Canvas, so I can't check that. You can share a lot of things from here with other platforms, excluding the polypad. In fact, the courses especially, if I click on one, you're going to see in the bottom left, you can share with your classroom, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, or Reddit. They also, on their courses, I do want to highlight this real quick, have a glossary of everything that they talk about in that portion. So even if your student has no idea what a protein is, well, this will tell them what it is. Okay, so yes, you can just copy the link and place it into the Canvas module. Thank you for answering that question, Tiffany. I want to say the glossary is text to speech, but it is not on here. However, you can do text to speech.
Mathematicians in ancient Greece, around
Here.
500.
So let's see if it does it here. Unfortunately, it looks like our glossaries and our hover overs are not text to speech. All right, going back. So we've looked a little bit at lessons. We've got a lot you can explore. You don't have to search for something, but that can help if you're looking for something specific. And goodness knows they've got a lot. I'm still scrolling. String art, I loved when I was in school. It can be super fun, and you could do it online because why not? They've got interactive videos. If it is spoken over, it is in English, and unfortunately, from what I can tell, they don't have it in Spanish. However, a lot of their video links do go to YouTube at this point. So you might be able to find someone has made a Spanish translation for it. All right, so those are our basic components that you'll be able to spend a fun amount of time exploring. I'm going to continue on because we do have limited time here. Polypad. I want to show you our menus before we start playing, or before I start showing you playing. You might be playing already, and that's okay. All right, so Polypad has a menu on the right that allows you to toggle full screen and non-full screen, to undo and redo, just like in your Microsoft Office or Google programs. Gives you a grid in the background so you can see the way things line up and make sure they're pretty. I get kind of obsessed with that sometimes. They have way too many customization options on their user interface, but thankfully they also have 3 different options for level of customization. They also have a help button. You can export your Polypad. Big keynote here on your Polypad: if you export it, you cannot move the things on it after it's been exported. It can export as one of 3 file types and none of them move. You can zoom in and out, which is good, especially with their geometry shapes. They're not very big, so you might want to zoom in, at least not yet. Right now, there's not an option to make the geometry shapes bigger and smaller. I'm thinking they're probably going to change that because they've already added circles since February that you can draw and make bigger and smaller and rotate. And you can also pan your canvas so that if you want to have something set up, say for class ahead of time, you can do all of the activities for class and just have them in separate sections of your canvas. Okay, so I'm going to go show you what these look like now. I'm on Mathigon.org. I go to Polypad, and this again is on the right. So my first option is to toggle full screen. It does exactly what it says. It makes it so that your address bar goes away, anything that you've got up above the actual Polypad. So we're on Polypad. I just picked an octagon so I can show you. You can rotate, you can flip, you can also cut it into pieces, should you choose, because reasons. You can also choose to undo. Now it's a full octagon again, or redo. Now, the grid I love. They've got lots of options there. So as far as the grid goes, we've got, of course, blank like it is now. We've got dots that are spaced fairly evenly, and, well, no, they're even, and square. Isometric. We've got tighter isometric. We have a flat out graph paper. We've got this one, which is my favorite, the graph with the larger graph on top of it bolded. We've got the isometric grid, and we also have the other kind of isometric grid, the rotated. So you've got plenty of options as far as if you want a grid, you can have one. This one's my favorite, so that's what I generally use for mine. You can also decide, do you want it in high contrast? Do you want it to look like it's hand drawn? I don't know. I honestly never use the hand drawn because to me it doesn't look right. But if you want to use it that way, you can. You can also make it so you can edit or hide locked tiles or reset your viewport. All that did was put me back in my top left. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. Don't worry, I'll show you how to use that. And then our next thing, which is going to be overwhelming to look at the first time. This is their customizable UI, user interface. Now, as you can see right now, I've got every single feature they offer selected. I like having everything toggled. Thankfully, if you're not sure what's going on with all of this or you're not tech savvy, they do have presets up top. We've got everything common and simple. You can do simple and it'll make it less stressful. You can do common for medium or everything, which is what I prefer, so that you literally have all the options possible. And you can change this at any time. Next is our help. It is great because it takes you to different items. They have help and tutorials, the lesson plans, of course. They also have their accessibility options and their in-depth tutorials, which literally takes you to the videos to show you how to use the different items. I like their videos. They're nice and short, but I don't think they're quite as good as actually getting in there and doing it yourself. But it can be a very good jumping off point. All right, and then last but not least, we've got our zoom in, our zoom out, and our pan, so I can move. So to show you that that's moving, here we go. Panning. There we go. You can no longer see it, but if I pan again, oh, there's my octagon. All right. So going back to our PowerPoint, here we go. These are the tools on the bottom tray. These tools are very user-friendly. They're related back to real life as much as possible. So of course we've got the move tool, which looks like a cursor. It is literally, you can click on something and move it. You've got your pen, pencil, marker, and ruler. Your ruler will draw you straight lines. It does not actually put a ruler on there. The marker is nice. I also really enjoy the pen. And with those, you can change the color, and I'll show you that. Actually, with almost everything, you can change the color. You've also got construction tools, which I'll show you. You can do some straight lines with dots as well as a couple of different shapes. There's the well-known and to me beloved text box. I am left-handed and I live in a right-hander's world where I use a mouse with my right hand. So if I try to write with my mouse, it looks like some alien tried to learn English by looking at a bunch of different text. So the text box makes it so you can just type it in and you don't have to worry about it. There's the equation box, which is awesome. And you've, of course, got an eraser because the all-important eraser is important. You've got color control, and we have sliders. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you these now. So our tools that we always have are available at the bottom in a tray. So first, of course, we've got our moving tool. It makes it so that I can click on something, I can click on another thing, I can flip them, I can cut them, etc. One of the fun things I love about this is you can click and drag to do something to an entire set of things. It's just great. I just cut through those. There we go. I don't like that, so I'm going to use my right tray to undo. Done. All right, so now I'm going to go to my drawing tools. Here's my pencil. Here's my marker. Actually, I'm going to do my marker in purple now. See what I'm saying about my writing? It's awful. I know it. All right, here is my highlighter. And last but not least, here's my pink ruler, a nice straight line so I don't have to try and hand draw it. So someone was asking about the customizable tools. Those,
Amy, that was my question. When you showed us, when you clicked on the tool icon and you showed us all those options,
yes.
are those the ones, those are the ones that are showing up on the left?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It is some of it. If you'll look, it does have subheadings. We have
Mhm.
features. which includes like you can delete tiles, you can rotate tiles, you can copy and paste, that sort of thing. So this is literally, do you want to be able to do a copy and paste? Do you want to be able to delete tiles? Do you want to be
Okay.
able to snap?
Gotcha.
I love their snapping feature, by the way.
Okay.
I'll get to the equation tool in just a second, Lilia, don't worry. All right, I cannot make polygons bigger or smaller. The best I can do currently is zoom in and out. I wish I could make the polygons bigger. That is the one thing I cannot do right now. However, you can zoom in and out. And like I said, this is still a fairly new site, so they might add that in later. All right, our toolbar again, it's do we want these options or not? If you want to take off the option for an image, you can click there and take it off. Your sidebar, again, this is what it's showing on the left, is the polygons, the polyaminos, the tanagram, the penrose, all of those different actual manipulatives. And then your action bar, it is the actual menu that pops up when you select an item. So we're going to go over that in just a second. All right, so going back, so we used our pen, our pencil, our marker, our highlighter, and our ruler. I showed you also how to use our color change. You see they do have a pre-selected palette for you so that there's a vast amount of difference between the colors. However, should you choose to make a different color with sliders, you can do that. For instance, here is my least favorite color in the world. There you go. And you can, of course, always still go back and change again. Next, we've got these are our construction tools. So we've got line, which is a lot like ruler. We've got circle, which can be fun. I'm going to go ahead and erase this real quick. I do have to warn you, the marker, pen, pencil, and ruler, you cannot erase by deleting. You have to use the eraser. So the construction tools, like I said, we've got line. I'm going to make a purple circle, which I can, with the move tool, move around, rotate, make it bigger, make it smaller. That's just fun to play with as is. And then we also have in our mini bar other items that I'm going to go over. We also, of course, I'm going to have a blue rectangle. I'm going to have an angle. This one is cool. So the angle, actually I have to draw you something with an angle first. You can make geometric shapes with the lines and expand them that way. However, you can't manipulate those shapes the same way you can manipulate the tiles that they've got on the left menu. So with our angle, I'm going to go ahead and draw some lines real quick so I have an angle. All right, so I've got a blue and green angle here. They are constantly working on it. Here we go. I have an angle here now, and I can select that with the move tool, and I can change things like putting in a bisector, a parallel line, a perpendicular line. I can copy what I'm doing. I can delete what I'm doing. Okay, so here's the new angle. And got a lot of options here. We've also got labels we'll be able to put on those. All right, so text box time. This is fairly standard. You can make it big, you can make it little, you can bold it, you can, here. You can make it a different color. If you want to make it a different color, as I said, bigger, smaller, bold, italic, underline, it's all done here. You can also just delete it. There's also options available with every item. Keep on top, keep it at the back, just like you would do with PowerPoint or Google Slides. Lock it, or make it invisible. So you've got options there. And then our equation tool is super cool. So with our equation tool, there we are, Here's my equation tool. I'm going to put in a fraction, 1/2. And then I'm going to go ahead and save it and assign it. We'll come back to that later and I'll show you why. So you've got your equation tool is specifically useful because this is where you're going to put your answers if you make a question. So if, say, I'm asking about an angle that I've got. All right, so if I make a bisecting line, I can say with the text, instead of I love chocolate, I can say where approximately how far on the blue line segment does the purple line segment cross? If we're just getting students comfortable with fractions, and I'm going to make that way bigger because the text is tiny. Here we go. Well, now I can make it bigger. There we go. Now I've got this answer plugged in. I'm going to go ahead and resave that. Good, it's still assigned. And I'm going to show you that as my student. Okay, so as you can see, this one has Amy Horn as its teacher. Don't be concerned, that Horn is just my maiden name. So we're going to go to Polypad. And as you can see, I have files too, assignments. There we go. There's my untitled Polypad. So there's, as you can see, a lot going on with this tool, with these tools, rather. Okay, the point is with what it's supposed to do, that I messed up somehow, is when your student logs in, they'll be able to go to their assignments. They'll be able to select it. They will not see 1/2. They have to enter the fraction they think is correct. And hopefully they can do just like I did and count the large grid squares and say, oh, it crosses at 1/2. When they put it in, they're going to see confetti fall down and they'll want to save it to show you that they finished. All right, so the equation tool, again, where you put your answers. Our eraser tool erases our pencil, pen, marker, etc. There you go. We can upload images should we so choose. For instance, here is a picture of me at my brother's wedding. Oops. Now, obviously, you want to use math-related stuff. So, maybe not pictures of yourself at your brother's wedding. Regardless, you can upload pictures and you can draw on them, use different things. And of course, I already showed you the color tool. Now we're going to talk about assigning a polypad. Super important. You're going to make your polypad. You're going to click File on the left-hand menu, and you're going to add your title and click Save. Then you're going to go to your class tab. All of your classes will show there, and you're going to click Assign under the correct class. I will show you this now. So here we go. Here's what I had earlier. Let's say I want to save this mess that I've made. I would preferably change the title to something like Line Segments. There we go. Before I save, I want to actually have the correct line segment. There we go. I would click Save. You can also duplicate. It will show in your library. See down here, I've got line segments. If you click the arrow towards the open bracket, it will take you to that saved polypad regardless of what you're on, but it will ask before it takes you there. If you click the little trash can with the X, it will delete it permanently. They also have examples and templates at the bottom, which are wonderful. So after I've saved, which I clicked Save just now, and it shows me polypad saved with a check mark, I go to my class tab on the left side. I have a default class. You should be able to assign to either class. And it will also show you student copies below where a student has worked with it and saved their answers or their work. That way you can check and see what's going on. All right, so that is how you assign. You can unassign after they have been assigned and reassign should you choose. All right, so it's example time. We talked about what your students are having the most trouble with. Most of what I saw was either fractions or algebra. I'm going to go ahead and show you fractions because it's a little less complicated, and I'm going to do a quick polypad on it. Please tell me if for some reason you cannot see Mathigon at this time.
We can see it. And I just
Perfect.
wanted to share that Tiffany said I assigned my polypad to my default class and it worked. So awesome.
Yeah. Yes, it generally does. My computer's been having some fits lately, and I think I should have brought my work laptop home, but I didn't. Okay, here's fraction bars, and you can decide how you want it labeled as fractions, percentage, decimal, or no label if that's what you choose. You cannot change the color on these because they are color coded. You can have it show the handles or not. The handles are useful because then you can make some of them highlighted and some not. You can expand so that you have more than a full one. You can shrink, play with it at your leisure. You can also split, should you choose. This one is now not there, and I can move it. Whatever you choose. Now, I personally like the fact that your pieces will snap back together. It will pull itself to the correct place. However, if you don't like that, you can change that in the user interface. That they literally call that snapping. That's right here. All right. With this, you can also rename. So now this one is 12ths. Now it's a 6th again. If I want to, I can say now that's a 3rd. So you can split them as you see fit. You can also copy, so you have something to pull around, delete, and of course you can show your handles, keep it on top. You can change it at any time to those. You also have the option at the top of where it says fraction bars on the left menu. And of course you can keep it on top, keep it on the back, lock its position, lock the tile itself, which is different from locking the position. So if I lock the tile itself, I can no longer manipulate it. So no matter how much I click, I can't move it. I can't change the fact that how it's labeled. So I'm going to undo that. And with fractions, a lot of my students have trouble with different denominators, right? If I'm going to add 1/4 and 2/6, they stare at me like I'm the devil. Partially because I'm evil sometimes. But they don't match. They don't line up. So I have to figure out what they've got in common. Now you can do this by splitting until you get to something that is similar. Or you can go through the individual fraction bars to see what matches. Here's my 7ths, that doesn't match. Here's my 8ths, that doesn't really match. My 9ths, etc. And they can play around with those.
Amy, thank you so much for showing us all this. I really like this. My question to you is, I teach the GED class, of course, for adults, and I am trying to see if there are any lessons that they can just practice and apply, practice and application, finding, adding fractions with different denominators.
Okay, so they do have some pre-made stuff. If you go to the left menu, under File, you can go to Examples and Templates, Algebra, Geometry. I went to Numbers and Fractions. So here is a fraction wall, number lines, prime factors, which I find fascinating, by the way. It will take me out of what I'm doing, but here is their fraction wall. Now, this is just a template, obviously. They do also have some lessons. Under Lessons, you can search fractions. They'll tell you all about color mixing in the fraction bars. Or let's see, if I don't want tutorials, they can do Egyptian fractions and it will show them how to do it. It will give explanations. They often have video, like this one has a video, and then it shows them an example of how to do it, and it will have a link to the actual polypad. Let's see, here we go. So here's a warm-up, here's just a further, and here is examples. So I'm going to go to the examples. Here's my examples. So some things are preset for you, not all things. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the polypad again, and I'm going to make a new one. Go ahead.
Amy, while you're going there, to kind of follow up with Lilia's question, are there any fraction type activities and courses? Because I know there's lessons and there's courses, so that could also be
at this time. They don't have anything on fractions.
That's right. Okay.
I don't know why, but like I said, with the courses, they're still expanding, so they could in the near future.
But I'm thinking, Lilia, you may be able to find things in there for the GED to help them with some of the questions, right, Amy?
Yes, definitely. And these activities, by far, they don't leave you wanting. If you decide to have your students do one of the sample polypads, that's great. Here, I can actually show you. Okay, so 6/9 divided by 1/6. Let's say I'm going to say that's, I don't know, 1/64. It's going to tell me that's wrong. And then I have to go and figure it out. Now, most of us don't do divided fractions, but that's one of our options. I'm going to create a new polypad now, so discard this. I want to show you some of the tools that I found here that were super useful. So, of course, we have a ruler for measurement, and we do have the option to go between centimeters and inches, or both. Of course, you can flip it should you want to. You can make it bigger and smaller. You can move it around. 17.5 inches for some reason. Now, I personally, these little action bars that pop up when you click on an item, I like to pin them to the bottom so that no matter what happens with the item itself, I still have access to the action bar, because I've had a little trouble with the action bar kind of disappearing behind stuff. So that's my personal opinion there. We've also got our protractor, our compass, which, yes, will draw you a real circle. And then one of my favorite things here is, regardless of what you like to do, one of the things I loved here was the number line. And here's why I love it. I don't like writing number lines on the board. And if I have to hand draw it in Google or Word, it's a pain in my bottom. With this, I can say, I want a number line. Here's my number line. I can tell it I want it to start at -12. I can tell it I want, 120, there we go. I can tell it I want the step to be every 23 pieces. There we go. I can also make the handles disappear, have it not show labels for whatever reason. I can make the width change. So now it's huge. Now it's tiny again. And I can say how many divisions I want. So if I want it to be very divided and have little hashes, there we go. Now, normally I would not do a step of 123. I would do 5s, 10s, or 1s. You can use that to create as many number lines as you like. You can shrink it, expand it. You can zoom in to make it nice and big. It's very useful. I do have a question on the side. Can a student be on the polypad and add things for direct instruction while I'm on the polypad as the teacher? Unfortunately, at this time, you are not able to be on the same polypad and manipulate at the same time together. Whether it is multiple students or student and teacher, if the teacher saves a file like I did earlier and then assigns it to their class, the class will have only that save to work with. Now, multiple students can be working on their own version of that save file and then save their submitted work. But If they manipulate something, you cannot see it in real time. So be forewarned of that. And if a student does their work and does not save it, they cannot show it to you that it's been done unless they just don't turn it on. They do need to add that feature, as I feel, as one of the options of having multiple people work on it and see it in real time, because that would be super useful. Regardless, they have tons of tools. Like I was saying earlier, color coded. Here's our prime factor circles. Everything that has a 2 in it is going to have orange. I can split it apart. I can put it together. I can add new ones. I enjoy this. I could play with these all day. I also got lost with our tangrams and Penrose tiles and pentagon tilings. So tons of features, all sorts of different things, including your base 10 blocks, your number bars, number frames, number lines. Your prime factor circles are super fun to play with. They've got number grids, multiplication grids, all sorts of cool stuff. They do have algebra. One of the cool things is their algebra balance scale. You can give something a worth, and then it will change the actual scale itself. They have variable sliders. So you can say A is equal to 0 or -5 or 4.6, whatever you choose. It's huge. Something definitely you could play on for days, weeks on end, as I have done. The probability and data are great pieces to use specifically, especially for if you want to set games like they have spinners. You click on spin and it spins. It makes its own little noise. The dice do the same. They also have things like polyhedral dice that do the same. Non-transitive dice, if you want that, though I'm not sure why. And then they also have things like logic and computing, which can be fun, and clocks, which was useful to my most recent class, and dominoes and chess. So there's tons to play with. Unfortunately, we are about out of time. Thank y'all so much for joining me. I apologize that we ran out of time.
I want to say thank you to all of you. I want to thank Wendy. I want to thank Ashley here and for all of you for being here. And you all have a beautiful day wherever you are in Texas, and have a great weekend. Take care, everybody.
We hope you enjoyed this pre-recorded webinar. After you have passed the final test with a score of 80% or greater and have received your certificate of completion, please take a few moments to complete the course evaluation. Participant feedback helps Train PD at TCall continue to provide high-quality professional development. To leave a course feedback, please go to the completed portion of your transcript. To do this, hover over the My Learning tab and select View Your Transcript. Click on the drop-down arrow next to the word Active and select Completed. Then, click Evaluate in the drop-down menu next to the course you just completed. Please note that your feedback is greatly appreciated.